week, our neighbor Elizabeth paid Holly and I a visit. Even though we had seen her around, we hadn't talked to her in quite a while. Her visit was very pleasant, and during one of our conversations, she told us that her daughter was going to further her studies in graduate school as a marine biologist. After Elizabeth left, I thought about my past. When I was in grade school and various Christmases, I would receive a chemistry set, a microscope, or something very sciencey as a gift. At that time, I truly wanted to become a scientist. Science never became my field of study, nor did it become my vocation in life. There was a science fiction book called A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and in it there was a rather famous phrase that reads, the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. There are scientists who are trying to come up with the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. Many of them call it the grand unified theory. In essence, they have strived to come up with something to describe the four fundamental forces of nature in one all-inclusive theory. The famous physicist Albert Einstein devoted much of his life in pursuit of a fully fledged unified field theory. Despite his efforts, he was not able to advance it any further than he had already done so with his theories of relativity. It seems that today the geniuses are nowhere nearer to that goal than Einstein was in his day. They now have a number of models that aspire to be the grand unified theory. To name just a few, there is string theory, there's membrane theory, and there is also the multiverse theory. In these theories, they use so many words to describe the incomprehensible just to make them appear comprehensible. I've tried to wrap my head around a few of these concepts, and every time I try, my head spins. If the number of words that these published theories generated were counted, I have no doubt they would amount to the tens of thousands. I also believe that if they tried to make these theories understandable to everyone, the word count would probably zoom to the millions. William of Ockham, a Franciscan friar who lived between 1287 and 1347 AD, is attributed with a principle that is now known as Occam's razor. When stated, it is defined as such. Among competing hypotheses, the ones with the fewest assumptions should be selected. A comparable modern-day acronym would be KISS. We know it humbly as Keep It Simple, Stupid. Many researchers would use the word elegant in their description of this insight. It seems today, especially with these series, many scientists have forgotten that simple principle. Your head doesn't have to spin. It doesn't have to take 1,000,000, 10,000, or even a few hundred words to understand. Albert Einstein himself at one time said, God does not play dice with the universe. John 1 says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. In less than 100 words, John 1 has given us a faultless description of the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. Its beauty is perfect in its simple elegance.
Amen.
Hebrews 9 says, for Christ did not enter a sanctuary made with human hands that was only a copy of the true one. He entered heaven itself now to appear for us in God's presence. Nor did he enter heaven to offer himself again and again, the way a high priest enters the most holy place every year, with blood that is not his own. Otherwise, Christ would have had to suffer many times since the creation of the world. But he has appeared once for all at the culmination of the ages to do away with sin by the sacrifice of himself. Just as people are destined to die once and after that face judgment, so Christ was sacrificed once to take away the sins of the many. And he will appear a second time, not to bear sin, but to bring salvation to those waiting for him. This is the Lord's table. Our Savior has given us so much reason to celebrate. And he has given us cause not only to remember, but to be aware. Simply put, Jesus sacrificed himself for us so that we may enter his kingdom eternal. Through his sacrifice, we were given meaning. Jesus has given us life so that we may have life everlasting. Through his kingdom, he has given us the universe. And through our Savior's love, he has given us everything that matters. How elegant is that? Please pray with me.